What's up, Bills Mafia? Welcome to the Hoof Podcast Solo Edition. I will be your host tonight, Eric, as we are going to dive into the need for a home run hitter as the draft approaches. We are 1 week away from the NFL draft. This time next week, we'll be talking about the new first-round pick for the Buffalo Bills. Excited to hang out. Tons of great content coming your way next week. The Hoof Live on Tuesday at 9. We are going to be doing a mock draft, picks 1 through 32. Be sure to join us for that, as well as draft coverage. Right, starting Thursday. Cover 1 draft hangout will be Thursday, will be Friday and Saturday as well. Be sure to tune in with us on YouTube, hang out, give your thoughts, and let you know how we feel about each pick and what they can possibly bring to the table. If you haven't already, be sure to follow Cover 1 on Twitter. It's at Cover 1. Be sure to subscribe to YouTube on the channel, and also like that Facebook page, Cover 1. Also, be sure to follow at Mafia Numbers. Max from Mafia Numbers helping me out with some of the charts tonight. Be sure to give him a follow. Guy does great work over there. So let's get to it here. Tonight, evaluating the need for a home run hitter. If you've missed my last episode, kind of got into the details of cornerback and edge, the draft needs. You know, what a player who's drafted in the first round, coming in, who do they compete with? What's going to be expected? What are the holes? Be sure to check out my last episode of cornerback and edge. And then, again, thanks for tuning in for tonight, home run hitters. Let's kick it off. Home run hitters could be a receiver, right? Deep threat. Tyreek Hill comes to mind for a deep threat. Could be a route technician, or a great route runner. Stephon Diggs is that. That guy crushes his routes. You know, anytime he catches the football, you know, is a danger to score. So you don't want to get beat on a sharp route from Stephon Diggs. And a physical player like Julio Jones, it's a threat to score every time he touches the ball. Just throw it up. The guy does everything. Physical specimen, can score at any time. Home run hitter could be a running back. Long speed is what you're looking for. I think most Bills fans know Singletary doesn't have the top end speed. Great at hitting the hole. Great at making one guy miss. Once he gets to the open field in the secondary, in that second level, he gets caught every time, right? So long speed, I think, is a good trait of a home run hitter. Jonathan Taylor, Raheem Mostert from the 49ers come to mind for me. And then obviously running backs that are difficult to tackle. Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, they just wear down defenses, and nobody wants to tackle those guys. Every time Derrick Henry touches the football, he has potential to score. And that's true for Nick Chubb as well. And an honorable mention, tight end. You know, I wasn't sure to put them in here, but I do think tight ends could fall in this category of home run hitter. And we're not saying, I don't think a home run hitter has to score in every play like baseball. It's one hit, 1 point. I think in football, if you can get 40-plus yards, that's a home run. That's a home run play. Everyone hit their assignment, and they hit it well, and they won their assignment. So, I mean, that would be a home run play in my eyes. It's not necessarily score every single time, so I would throw tight end in there as well. 2 of the top 5 leaders in yards after catch are tight ends. It's Darren Waller and Travis Kelsey. They're not always fast, but I think the size, it becomes a matchup nightmare, right? It's a strategy. They're great chess pieces. Noah Fant comes to mind as a matchup nightmare. This guy's big and super fast. Who guards him? Safety? Okay, now we're going to run the ball down your throat. So let's look at who the Bills have that are considered home run hitters. Who's on the roster? Stephon Diggs. I mean, we're hoping Matt Breida. I mean, Emmanuel Sanders, maybe in his day, you could consider him a home run hitter. I don't think he's that type of player at 34 years old. John Brown, I think, was a home run hitter before, signing with the Raiders. But last season, I would consider John Brown a home run hitter. Somebody who could burn, deep threat, route technician. That's John Brown. But I'd say Stephon Diggs, and that's it when you look at this roster. That's it for me. A true threat to score anytime they touch the football. It's Diggs. And, I don't think Beasley's that player. Obviously, our running backs are not that player. Dawson Knox, it's a tough argument for Dawson Knox as a home run hitter. He's a hell of a tight end, very athletic. But, when he catches a football, I don't expect him to score. When Diggs catches a football, we jump out of the chair trying to get him to score because, it's he's dangerous like that. Dangerous. All right, Brandon Beane's quote when he's talking about running backs from the press conference, and I got this from NY Up. Shout out to Matt Perino for that. Is this player going to do something? I don't think either one of our backs are home run hitters. So is there an elite trait that this guy has and says, man, he's got something we don't have? That's probably the conversation versus, okay, are we going to take the same type of back as Devin? Are we going to take the same type of back as Zack? Because even those two guys have different skill sets. End quote. So for me, we all know this. It's not a secret. There is no home run hitter in the running back room. We're hoping it's Matt Breida. Just don't know. Haven't seen him on this team in this scheme. But, them signing Matt Breida does tell you they're looking for speed in the running back room. And with John Brown departing, I think you do have a need at receiver on the outside. Because I think Sanders plays a lot of inside with his route running, which is another dynamic to this offense. You now have two really good players on the inside, middle of the field. Stephon Diggs can, maybe thrive on the outside because of Emmanuel Sanders' ability inside the number. But, they're still missing that John Brown character who could benefit from a scheme, somebody who can get down the field, basically vertical. Just somebody vertical. All right, so let's take a look at this chart here. The number of plays over 40 yards. Obviously, this is the most, and the Bills are 12th. Tied for first, the Cardinals and the Packers. You got the Titans, Buccaneers, Raiders, Seahawks, Texans, Broncos, Cowboys, 49ers, Chargers, Bills. So what do you think of when you see these teams? What do you think of? Cardinals, for me, weapons and scheme. Tons of different weapons, good scheme, get chunk plays. For the Packers, Aaron Rodgers. For the Titans, Derrick Henry. The Buccaneers, obviously a very balanced team, weapons and scheme all day long for them. It's a nightmare. I think the Raiders are a tough one here. It's kind of a combo. Henry Ruggs, Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs. I'm actually surprised they're this high on the list, to be honest. But that's a team that's improving. Seahawks, you think of Russell Wilson. The Texans, it's Deshaun Watson and Deshaun Watson only. And this Broncos team's interesting as well. Young core, Noah Fant, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler. If that quarterback figures it out, if Drew Lock can figure it out, that they're going to be a dangerous team. Cowboys, like that, probably arguably best receiving core in the league. They're in that conversation. 49ers, you think scheme. The Chargers, you think young quarterback right out the gate. Dude's making crazy plays. But what do you think about with the Bills? Obviously, it's Allen and Diggs, and then scheme as well. So what's interesting to me is the top 4 or 5 teams have really good balance, right? Those, if you want to put the Raiders in there, those top 5 teams have good running games, and they have threats in the passing game. For the Titans, A.J. Brown. That's balance. I think that opens up big plays. Notice how the Chiefs are not on this list. I think they were challenged to throw the ball underneath this year and run the football, and that's what they did. Not too many over-the-top plays. All right, let's move on to the next chart here. We got the pie chart, and this is the percentage of plays over 40 yards by receiver. Stephon Diggs, 50% of the 40-plus yard plays were by him. 30% Gabe Davis. 10% John Brown. Really expected that number to be higher. And then 10% Isaiah McKenzie. Many people, I think, would consider John Brown a home run hitter. I know I certainly did. But just, very good on the outside. You don't really see him in the middle a ton. But it just seems like that number would be higher. That percentage would be higher. But when you take a look at his route tree, vast majority of John Brown's passes were short outside. Right? So, it wasn't getting down the field as much as I had thought. Gabe Davis, this 30% is actually surprising as well. Just because I don't consider Gabe Davis a home run hitter necessarily. He's more of a single, double type hitter. But I think he definitely benefited from the scheme. Everyone's focused on John Brown beating him over the top, and obviously you got to double Stephon Diggs or he'll embarrass you. So I think Gabe Davis is the beneficiary of this scheme, and I think that shows up here. And Isaiah McKenzie making the chart. I mean, the guy's got stupid talent as far as speed. Gets down the field, right? And it's interesting because the majority of McKenzie's catches, receptions are short. They're behind the line of scrimmage, right? He makes plays, right? He's got the speed to tear it up. McKenzie has the highest yards after catch per reception for a Bills player. That's PFF. He's 27th in the league overall in that category. He's the only Bills player in the top 50. So it shows you once he gets the ball in his hands, gets down the field. And that's why he gets re-signed year in, year out. He is a weapon. He's a home run hitter. I would say McKenzie, I think he qualifies as a home run hitter. And I think it's because of his speed. Rare speed. Anyway, let's move on to number of plays over 20 yards. And it's only 4 teams here. Bills are 4th. It's crazy that the Texans are number 1. How good is Deshaun Watson, right? Look, I think he still gets sacked 50 times a season, right? But to be on this chart, number of plays over 20 yards, the Texans, nobody, I didn't ever expect that. But that's just credit to Deshaun Watson for that one. Maybe it's because they're playing behind. But, the guy gets it done. It doesn't transfer to wins, obviously. But let's take a look at the Chiefs here, though. Like I said, they weren't in the top 12 of 40-plus yard plays, but here they are, number 2 in the number of plays over 20 yards. Right, I think people started playing 2 deep safeties, challenged the Chiefs to throw it, somewhat underneath, started running the football, playing the horizontal game a little bit behind the line of scrimmage. And they're still a dangerous team, obviously. The Buccaneers, we talked about a little bit. Weapons, scheme, drives people crazy. And then there's the Bills at 4th. In 2019, the Bills were 15th in this category. So, bringing in Stephon Diggs, the Bills ended up with, 66 plays over 20 yards. Last season, they had 54. In 2019. So Diggs brings you another, 12 plays over 20 yards, right? Obviously, Josh's maturity in the offense goes with that, as well as the scheme evolving. Tons of continuity on this team. And the Bills had 10 plays over 40 yards, 8 in 2019. So improvement on both ends, just by a few plays, but hey, every play matters in the NFL. What's interesting, though, is this is the area where Josh thrives, right? The plus 20 yards, right? 10 to 20-yard range, I would say. The intermediate throws is what people call it. And I give Brian Daboll a ton of credit. Obviously, anytime you win 13 games, you're going to get a lot of credit. But building this team around Josh Allen's strengths, right? It took a little time, but I think that's what you're seeing. And I think bringing in a guy like Emmanuel Sanders is going to contribute to that as well. Very good intermediate route runner. Obviously, add him with Stephon Diggs, who had an incredible season last year, made Josh a star. Cole Beasley, another year in the system. These guys are working with Josh Allen's strengths. They match that style of play, and you're seeing the results of that. So I think the Brian Daboll especially gets tons of credit from me for that. But another reason we see John Brown depart and Emmanuel Sanders come in, the intermediate throws. I think Sanders is going to do a lot of good things for this offense in that area. All right, next one, breakdown of who is getting these receptions of 20-plus yard plays by receiver. You got Diggs at 28.8% for the people not watching, only listening. Beasley's at 22.1%. Gabe Davis, 14.4%. John Brown, 10.6%. Isaiah McKenzie's on here, 4.8%. Matching Dawson Knox at 4.8%. And then we got Singletary, Smith, Croft, and Yeldon all had one reception over 20-plus yards. Stephon Diggs, 20 receptions, or 20 plays, 20-plus yards. 5 were 40-plus. Beasley had 15, 20-plus, 0, 40-plus. Gabe Davis, 10, only 3 that were 40-plus. John Brown, only 1 play plus 40 yards. Kind of interesting. 7 plus 20. And then McKenzie Knox had 3. Singletary, 2 in the passing game. And as we said, Antonio Williams gets 1. Lee Smith, Jake Kumaro, Croft, Moss, Yeldon. Rounded out 66 total plays, plus 20 yards this season. Emmanuel Sanders last year had 7 plays plus 20 yards with the Saints, 2 plus 40 yards. So he comes in, he's in this category in particular, matches John Brown. Just a coincidence. I don't think there's nothing to do with that. It's just a coincidence that they're similar in those areas. Let's take a look at running the football. You've probably seen this chart before. This is done by Max over at Mafia Numbers. This was on Eric Turner's running back breakdown video. If you haven't seen that, be sure to check it out. Tons of details on the film side of things. If you haven't seen it, it's a must-watch. But this chart's great. Just wanted to use it again because it shows, to me, exactly what style of running back Devin Singletary is. Right? What you're looking at is percent of carries, 10 yards or more in 2020 with a minimum of 100 attempts. And Devin Singletary is 11th with almost 14% of his carries becoming a rush of 10 yards or more. And that's better than names like Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry, Edwards-Helaire, Josh Jacobs. And I think this scheme being pass first, it's going to benefit the running back, right? It's opening up holes. There's space for Devin Singletary to get to the 10-yard line. And he gets credit. I mean, he makes a guy miss on most plays. Singletary's a good running back. It's just that second gear that's not there. It's non-existent. But, I mean, he gets his yards. But, yeah, I think this chart definitely shows that he's not a home run hitter by any means. And Zach Moss, way down the chart, quite a ways down. He's behind players like Kenyon Drake, Ronald Jones, Raheem Mostert. just two different styles of running backs, but neither of them are home run hitters. Not even a debate there. I think most people are familiar with that. But I think this chart does exemplify that they are good running backs in their area or their arena, if you will, right? Both of them can make a guy miss. If you need a yard, Zach Moss is your guy. He'll get the yard. Devin Singletary, if you need one guy to miss in the box, he's going to be that guy. Right, but we don't have the guy who can bust into the secondary and get that long speed, who can score on any play. These backs are just not that. We talk about rushing the football. Zach Moss had 4 plays plus 20 yards, 0 40 plus. Singletary had 3 20 plus yard plays, 1 40 plus yards. Josh Allen had 2 20 plus. TJ Yeldon had 1. 10 total on the season as far as running the ball. None of these guys are going to bust the top off a defense. At least with their legs, right? Josh Allen with his arm maybe, but definitely not with his legs. So let's take a look at who can fill the role of a home run hitter, either running back or receiver. Who might the Bills be looking at to fill this role? So let's take a look at some college prospects. I'm going to pop some stuff up. Be sure to comment. Make sure you give your own interpretations, right? No one's saying that this is end-all, be-all. These are just charts to give you some insights. Always watch the film before you come to conclusions, but if you see something, be sure to comment, and we'll take a look. We'll discuss on the Hoof Live. Lots of different ways to look at these things. So let's pop up the chart. It's done by Max. Again, appreciate it, Max. Breakaway percentage for running backs since 2019 with a minimum of 130 rushing attempts. This is for college. And the y-axis is percent of yardage from 15-plus yard runs. And the x-axis, percent of carries for 15-plus yards. So it's interesting because you can almost see like boom or bust, right? If you look at Cleel Herbert, way up top right, he's high in both categories, right? He looks like he's about 14% of his carries on the x-axis were 15-plus yards. And on the y, he's around 60% of his yardage were from runs that were 15-plus yards, right? So you could say, more than half of his yardage were on runs that were 15-plus yards. Right? It sounds like a home run hitter in college, at least. And only 15% of his carries. To me, it seems like he's boom or bust. That's kind of what I'm looking at there. I think on the other carries, the other 85 carries out of 100, he's getting stuffed. Is what I see there. But also another thing to look at is the North Carolina running backs, Devonte Williams, Michael Carter, both NFL guys, both going to be drafted in the first few rounds. And they're both, high and to the right on this chart. At least to the right. A lot of their carries do bust for 15-plus yards. And that could be scheme, right? Wearing them down over time. These are 2 NFL prospects on the same college team. Obviously, Michael Carter's going to benefit because Devonte Williams is wearing down the defense. Devonte Williams is a beast. I think he has a great chance to be the best running back of this draft class in the NFL. And Michael Carter could just be a beneficiary of that, right? Something to look at. But Michael Carter, Cleel Herbert, definitely guys who could, blow the top off a defense. At least they did it in college. Cleel Herbert, Sterling said, remind him of Tiki Barber. I tend to agree with that. They have the same running style. And when I watched Cleel Herbert, didn't get contested too much, really. Every time he's running, he's got so much space. Michael Carter, on the other hand, very shifty. His one cuts are really, really good, and he gets down the field quick. Just got a couple size concerns, right? The weight's not there, kind of a smaller guy. In the NFL, you need the weight to go with the legs, right? So there's 2 guys there. But if you want to look at Kenneth Gainwell, who I like, just great receiver, but also the speed, kind of above the mean. Obviously, in this chart, I'd say the mean's around 7 or 8% of carries over 15 plus yards. He's up in the 9 to 12 range. So, he's a player that could, play that role as boom or bust, but more in the passing game. Very pass-friendly running back. He runs real routes. He's getting back shoulder throws and everything, And then Travis Etienne sitting right there with him. Devonte Williams, Travis Etienne, kind of in the same category. They're around 9 to 12% of their carries are 15-plus yards, whereas, just below 50% of their yards are 15-plus yard runs. And if you're looking for an NFL back, those two guys are probably what you're looking for. Travis Etienne, I'm not real sure is an every down back, but Devonte Williams, I think, could definitely do that. The Bills need a home run guy, right? And I think Travis Etienne is absolutely that person. He's a home run. He's a threat anytime he's on the field. But I'm not sure if you can give him the ball 30 times a game. I don't think he's that style player. Another interesting thing about this chart, Najee Harris, way down. Looks like 7% of his carries are 15-plus yards. And, less than 40%, he's probably around 30% of his yards were from 15-plus running yards. But the thing is, he's just not that style of running back. He's a big body. He's not blow the top off, not real fast. He's more physical. He's a single doubles hitter, right? Where at least in college, Michael Carter, Cleel Herbert, those guys are blow the top off. Once they get in the secondary on a run play, they're going to take it to the house. It's hard to measure if that will transfer to the NFL. But if you're just looking at this draft class, and those two guys, I think with a later pick, would be good value for a home run hitter that could arguably compete with Matt Breida for that role that the Bills are looking for in the running back room. And this is kind of the decision that Brandon Beane's going to have to make. Look, Devonte Williams is not that guy, right? He's not a blow the top off guy. Travis Etienne is. And, Brandon Beane's going to have to measure what kind of value do we want to put into that. And that's going to be tough. I think Kenneth Gainwell and Travis Etienne are great in the passing game as well, added value. So anyway, let's look at this is my rankings from a few shows ago, and it's after hearing Brandon Beane and looking at the charts, are they stock up or stock down for home run hitter? Are they that type of person? Are they that type of back? Let's look at Travis Etienne, stock up. I think he is a dynamic threat. He's probably the most dynamic threat in the whole draft class, in my opinion. But not, like I said earlier, not an every down back. I think he is a home run style player. He's a guy you can bring in. You can hit triples with him. You can hit home runs with him. But I don't think he's a guy you can consistently get on first base with. So I think stock up for Travis Etienne. Najee Harris as a home run hitter, stock down. He's just not that guy. He's a big body, great in the receiving game, out of the backfield. But again, he's more of a physical back, 22 broken tackles for him. Wouldn't say he'd blow the top off in the NFL. Single doubles kind of guy. You need those two. The problem is the Bills already have two backs that are singles and doubles. But Najee Harris will get you on base. Devonte Williams, same thing. As our running back, sure, stocks up. This guy, I think, has all the traits to be a successful NFL running back, but I don't think he's a home run hitter style guy. It doesn't make sense to me for the Bills to select a guy like that. He just doesn't have the long speed you're looking for in a home run hitter style player. Next, Michael Carter, stock up. I think he could be a home run style player. His cuts are explosive. Yeah, he's got to watch him. His explosive cuts are really, really good. I just worry about the size, but I think he does have the speed to, get to the secondary and take one to the house. Right? I think he'd be a good value player later in the rounds. When I watch Michael Carter, I like how he gets to the outside, gets on the sideline, and turns it up. Right? I don't think either of the Buffalo Bills backs can do that as effectively as Michael Carter. Somebody who can contribute. And we'll see what we got in Matt Breida. Right? I don't think you take Michael Carter in the first 2 rounds, but if he does fall to 3 to 7, might be an option. I would be concerned with his size. Kenneth Gainwell, stock up as well. Not super fast, but legit agility, making people miss. Hasn't played. He opted out of the 2020 season. And again, he's just a small guy, but he's so good in the pass game. He has real route running ability, back shoulder throws and the whole deal. But another guy who I think could get to the secondary and contribute to this running back room. All right, let's move on to the receiver. I'm going to pop up this one. Number of forced tackles missed. And this has been on the show before, but it's Ja'Marr Chase with 22, and that's from his 2019 season, not 2020. Kadarius Toney coming in second with 20. Elijah Moore, Devonta Smith, Rashad Bateman, Terrence Marshall Jr., and Jalen Waddle rounded out. And these are basically just the top prospects, but there's different kinds of home run hitters, right? You could, physical guys, right? Like we talked about with Julio Jones, go up, get the football, stiff arm a guy and take it to the house, right? Look around, probably Ja'Marr Chase is that guy. Obviously, he's not Julio Jones, but, does a lot of things as a physical receiver. Kadarius Toney and Elijah Moore are screenplay, both play in the slot, going to do a lot in the middle, make guys miss, right? These guys are real shifty, real agile, 2 guys that can help out the receiver room, and they got speed. Both these guys are home run hitters in college, and I think they come in and help out immediately, taking them to the house. Devonte Smith talked about so smooth. I don't think the Bills have a chance to get him. Rashad Bateman, Terrence Marshall. Bateman, unique in his route running. Uses a lot of basketball-style moves in his route running. It's kind of unique in that sense. Terrence Marshall Jr., big slot presence, and then Jalen Waddle, straight speed. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. Again, from Mafia Numbers, Max, shout out. Yardage from big play catches. Receiver since 2019, minimum 60 receptions. And this is really interesting. It's the percentage of yards from 20-plus yard catches. You want to see who's making big plays in college? There you go. And I'll just go through some of these names. There's a bunch here. Trey Nixon, number 1 on this list. And Trey Nixon basically, it's out of UCF. Lance Zierlein from NFL.com has him as a day 3 prospect. Coming off a shoulder injury. One of the later guys, but he's 60% of his yards are from plays that are 20-plus yard catches. That's big play. Marquez Stevenson from Houston is second on the list. He's projected to go in the 7th round. Jalen Waddle, top 10 guy, elite speed, Tyreek Hill burst. Bills got no shot at him. If they do, I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, I don't think we'll end up in that scenario. But some realistic targets for the Bills here that are high on this list. De'Ami Brown from North Carolina. He's 5th on this list, and probably 63 to 65% of his yardage are from 20-plus yard catches, making huge plays in North Carolina. And he's got straight line vertical speed. Probably would have to work on his route running ability, but he does play on the outside, right? He could fill that John Brown role. And some of the deep passes that you see from North Carolina, it kind of reminds you of John Brown. They track the ball in a similar manner, but John Brown's just such a fluid athlete, and Dyami Brown is not that guy. But we have Emmanuel Sanders now, so really that straight line vertical threat is kind of what you're looking for. Dyami Brown has that, and I'm not sure what he was asked to do at North Carolina, but I think he's got enough athleticism to do some of these outside routes. Obviously, he needs some coaching in that area, but that would be the difference if the Bills think they could do that and teach him some of these outside routes that John Brown was running. I think Dyami Brown could be a guy that can fill that. Again, Lance Zierlein on this one, he took the role of the home run threat for the Tar Heel offense. That was the first thing on NFL.com. Home run threat. A couple other ones here. Austin Watkins is interesting. Sammy Watkins' cousin. UAB, really small school. Not a fluid athlete, but he's an outstanding route runner. Good hands, good depth. Depth of target, 15.7. Again, Lance Zierlein compared him to Gabe Davis. I thought that was interesting. But I'm not sure if he's and a guy who can get down the field. Look, the athleticism of John Brown is rare. It's going to be hard to find that. Yeah, that's why, you probably take a guy early. If that's a high priority moving forward, you look for an earlier type receiver in the draft. Right after Austin Watkins, Kadarius Toney. Definitely a fun guy to watch. 7 deep catches last season for the Florida. But they primarily had him in the slot and screen. If the Bills wanted to develop that style of receiver, put him in the slot opposite Cole Beasley, something like that, interchange them. I know Daboll does do a lot of interchanging. He could be a guy that's on their radar. It really depends on what direction they want to take this offense. To me, I don't see Kadarius Toney as a guy who fits, because you didn't see a ton on the outside of the field for him. Mostly it's slot screen game, which he's very effective at. But this team does have Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders coming in. I think Emmanuel Sanders plays a lot in the slot. So tons of interchangeable options there. And let's see here. Let's go with Devonte Smith's on here. I'm not going to talk about him because I don't think the Bills have a shot. He'll be gone. Rashad Bateman, like I said earlier, versatile skill set. Doesn't have the top end speed to play that John Brown role. As far as a deep threat, could definitely, absolutely run some of the outside route concepts that John Brown brought to the table. It'd be interesting if Rashad Bateman's on the table. That would be interesting because I think he is a guy you could basically put anywhere. He could definitely fill the short outside route tree. Just doesn't have the long speed to be a deep threat. So it would be, but he would be a lot of fun for the Bills, right? And Daboll might like something like that. Again, you could interchange all kinds of different receivers. But if you're looking for that home run hitter, it's not Bateman. I don't think he's that style. Let's talk about Elijah Moore. A little bit lower on the chart, but primarily in the slot. I think the difference between him and Kadarius Toney is I think Elijah Moore could do a lot more on the outside. Toughness, elusiveness. He'd be huge in the screen game. His game's really similar to Cole Beasley, but he's faster. Right? He could play multiple roles for the Bills. I mean, you could have 2 Cole Beasleys on the field. That'd be a nightmare for any defense. Speed's a really difficult thing to evaluate in college. Will it go to the NFL? Does it transfer over? It's so hard to figure out. I mean, guys like John Ross had all the speed in the world, got him to be a top 10 pick. I think NFL teams realize, okay, you need a little more physicality. What good is your speed if you're locked at the line? You can't get out of any jams. Right? So then, Tyreek Hill obviously has the full package. I don't know about Jalen Waddle. Everyone thinks he does. We're going to find out. But if you're looking for a home run hitter, it is very hard to evaluate, as it is for any position, going from college to the NFL. But if you ask me, my opinion, I think De'Ami Brown, Elijah Moore are the guys you want to pay attention to. Kadarius Toney could be on the list, but you got to decide, what are we using him for? What is the goal? Right? Me looking at it, I would say Emmanuel Sanders can do a lot of new things that John Brown couldn't do, but there's also a few things that Emmanuel Sanders can't do that John Brown could. Let's fill that role, and I think that is home run ability, right, primarily. How can we fill just that 10% or even 5% of home run plays? Who can fill that for us? Maybe it's on the roster already. Jake Kumaro, Tanner Gentry, some of these guys. But if it's not, and you want to get somebody early, I think it's Rashad Bateman. The speed may be an issue, but I mean, definitely some great route running potential there. De'Ami Brown, who does have that straight line vertical speed, needs to work on the route running, but that speed is intriguing. If that's the route they're going, and then Elijah Moore, who just brings a ton of different things to the table. You could use him a ton. If a guy like Elijah Moore could take people's jobs, bundle them together. I think he's a bundle deal. And that's because he does more than just one thing. He's versatility, right? All day. Versatility. And that's fun. But if you see anything on these charts that I missed, be sure to drop in the comments. I will take a look and definitely respond. Also, if there's something that you see in some of these prospects that I overlooked, I know Das Newsome, kind of ran out of time on him. Amari Rodgers from Clemson seemed like a running back. Wasn't a good fit there. So anybody else in this list you think, that could fill some of those roles as a deep threat or a home run hitter? Rondell Moore, I know, comes up a lot. And that is all I got. So, Bills need to get a home run hitter, and that's what we're working with. So, we'll see what they come up with. There's a reason there's a whole bunch of guys working on this in Brandon Beane's front office. There's also a reason I'm not working there. So, I appreciate everybody spending time with me. Again, special thanks to Max from Mafia Numbers. Be sure to follow him on Twitter as well as Cover One. You can follow me at eBrownHoof. Always trying to improve with content. And don't forget to tune in next week for Tuesday night, the Hoof Live at 9 p.m. as we do a mock draft picks 1 through 32. And then all the draft coverage you need. A Cover One draft hangout Thursday, Friday, and Saturday on the YouTube channel. Be sure to check that out as well. And I will talk to you later. Peace.